Well, a very good afternoon to you all from just above start finish at Barber Motorsports Park. This is the North American Formula 1000 Championship presented by EPCUSA.com. Driver's Eye Live for Race 2, round number 6 of the 2021 championship season. And as always, happy to have everybody's company on this fine Barber Historics weekend. My name is Brendan Kazmarek, joined, as has been the case most of this weekend, by JT Tammy. Hello, JT.
Hello.
Welcome back. We were together for race 1 this morning, right at 8 o'clock. Race 1 by Alex Mayer, 5 for 5 on the 2021 season. Happy to say also joined this afternoon by a special guest, Glenn Cooper, who I think will be a familiar name to those of you who follow the Formula 1000 Championship. Hello, Glenn.
Glad to be here. Wow, what a beautiful day here at Barber. Oh, my God, it's just a treat to be here. This place is amazing. I mean, we got statuary.
We don't get that anywhere else.
No
statues at Road Atlanta.
This is a super high-end place. I'm glad Mr. Barber's such an enthusiast.
Yeah, it's been, I believe this is F1000's first trip to Barber Motorsports Park. We've discussed that a couple of times, and even if the latter has been here before, certainly the 6 drivers up in the paddock this weekend have not. So it's a bit of coming to grips with the track and the cars and the combination, but they seem to find their way through most of race 1 this morning, our 21-lap round 5 of the championship season. Glenn, you've done some laps here before. It's a technical track. It flows well, lots of elevation changes from a first-person view, and as a man with experience behind the F1000 cars, what's your take?
Yeah, this track is really unique. I really like fast tracks. Road America, Road Atlanta, Sebring, VIR, and you come here and you've got to really kind of get your head around what I call or what's known as a compromise corner, which God, that thing doesn't even exist in my vocabulary because I'm just like coming in, brakes are on fire, throw the thing sideways and fire it out of the corner. But here, man, you're not going to go fast doing that. You've really got to kind of calm down some. And, you know, they've told me since I was about 4 to calm down. It hasn't worked yet. But you really do have to do that to string together a really successful lap. And watching the videos of this morning's race and yesterday's queue, I was really impressed with watching the top 3-4 guys and seeing how they're putting power down and where they're braking. And you know, it's not so much, oh, I hit this apex. It's like, man, you got to string every single element together here because it's really unforgivable. Other tracks are so fast you can make it back up somewhere.
Sure. So it kind of seems like what we experienced this morning and what we've seen through some of the historic races and the other Formula Race Promotions ladder races throughout the course of the weekend is maybe it's not so much about following your competitor closely and making a move into a braking zone. The braking zones here are already fairly short, and then you add the downforce of the F1000 cars into the mix, but more about waiting for the right moment. Maybe your competitor makes a mistake and then taking that opportunity when it presents itself.
You know, hounding somebody and forcing them into an error is always a favorite thing of mine. And here, you're kind of limited on passing, and you've either got to try like a super bizarro run down into one and just put it up inside them. And you know, if you're inside them, you own them.
Sure. And so we saw this morning, Alex Mayer, Shane Prieto, the class of the field, as has been the case for most of the weekend and last time we were out with the championship at Mid-Ohio as well. Shane was able to hang with Alex there a little bit. He was stuck in his wheel tracks about a second, 1.2 behind until the Atlantics came into play. Now, when you were racing in Formula 1000, and we know you're going to be back behind the wheel here in hopefully a couple of months' time, those Atlantics, they really can kind of throw a wrench into the flow of the F1000 race.
Oh, man, they really can. And, you know, it's so funny because we're so close on lap time. Yeah, they're pole guys, 2 seconds or whatever ahead of our pole guy, but that's just their pole guy. Most of our field is very competitive on lap time compared to most of their field. And what that means is they're going to, because they're a better power to weight ratio, they're going to fire it off the corner. And even if you passed them going into the corner, they're coming right back by you on the straightaway. So we make our lap time in a different area of the track. And it seems like you're always kind of dicing with an Atlantic guy. And hopefully, and what typically happens is they will recognize that you're in a battle and they'll breathe on it for a second or two. And that's all it takes. And now the battle of the Formula 1000s can continue and not be held up by the guy who's really, really fast in a straight line and just not fast enough in the corner. That's ultimately what this level of racing is about.
Sure.
It's a respect thing.
We have had some conversation over the course of the weekend. These F1000 cars, okay, they're 2 to 3 seconds a lap off the pace of an Atlantic around a place like Barber. And maybe you play, quote unquote, second fiddle to the Atlantics when you're out on track, sharing the same space as they are. But let's not forget that these Formula Atlantics used to be the last stepping stone before IndyCar and before Champ Car. I mean, that was the IndyCar ladder for a long time. To be within 2 seconds and throwing these slicks and wing cars around, professional circuits like Barber. We go to Mid-Ohio. We go up to Road America. I mean, that's kind of seems to me like about as good as it gets.
Yeah, you're talking bang for the buck, and man, is it ever. You can have a complete Formula 1000 car for less than it costs for a brand new Formula Atlantic engine. And, God bless the Atlantics. I would love to drive one day. It's just not in my cards unless somebody's going to throw a car at me, which is, I'll take it. Not going to turn that down. But yeah, the level of performance is just insanity. And, typically what I do on a F1000 car is go about 8 race weekends, and that's inclusive of test days, practices, qualifying, double race weekend. And after 8 weekends, I'll pull an engine out that's still a runner. And I'll sell it off to somebody who wants to build a modified engine, and then I'll get another one and plug it right back in. So when you divide that cost of the engine and divide it over your laps you've done and race weekends you've done, I don't want to say it's free, but it's the freest that I know of.
As close as we're going to get to free motor racing anyway. We're about halfway around our formation lap. Alex Mayer is going to start race 2 from the pole position, exactly where he finished race number 1. Shane Prieto will line up alongside. We saw the fantastic duel between the two of them on lap number 1. Nathan Bird and Steve Hamilton on row number 2 in that order. And Tim Pierce and Tim Pierce and Charles Livingston on the third and final row of our F1000 grid. The Toyota Atlantics, or the Formula Atlantics as they are, will get their start first thing. They come across the start-finish line roughly 3 wide, but we put that to one side for the moment. And with our last turn camera down just at the moment, we'll switch it over to turn 1 or an onboard. There we go. We'll pick up the F1000 cars as they round the final corner and onto the front straightaway. Mayer and Prieto,
got a green
front row. There waves the green flag. Mayer gets a good jump onto the inside. We'll pick it up here on the camera in a moment. Prieto to the outside. And let's watch this from onboard Steve Hamilton, the number 93. Prieto just lags back a little bit as they come up to start-finish, but Mayer's got a tight entry into turn 1. Prieto hangs tight around the outside, runs it right up to the curb on driver's right.
Yeah.
And I think through the apex of turn 2, Prieto to the lead. Mayer tries the crossover, cuts back to driver's right up against the curb. Cannot get the move done up the hill, but they are nose to tail headed into turn number 5. Down out of turn 6, Prieto and Mayer still nose to tail. Prieto's going to go defensive into turn 7. Not necessarily a passing zone, but we switch it back trackside to pick them up at 7. Here they come. Mayer to right, Prieto to left. Mayer locks up the brakes with the number 43 of Shane Prieto to driver's left. And I think that Furman chassis, the number 43, is going to hang on to the lead only just in front of the 77 of Alex Mayer.
Nice side-by-side action right from the drop of the green.
It was a really good, aggressive move by Prieto. We thought that was going to be what we saw in race 1. Prieto, a little bit maybe aggressive, or some built-up aggression over the course of the weekend, but he finally got his opportunity to make a move. He took it. He got the move to stick on the way into turn number 2, and as they complete lap number 1 with a huge margin over the third-place car, who I think is going to be Nathan Bird, I think. But it is, and it's Prieto leading Mayer still as they complete lap number 1. I think we've got a problem on the 93 of Steve Hamilton. This white JDR chassis slowed on the first lap, about halfway around the first lap, and he pulls it into the pit lane. So we look to the right here and try and pick up what the issue is. Oh, that's Livingston in the pit lane behind him as well. So 2 F1000 cars I think we've lost pretty much right off the bat here. On board with Prieto. One of the few cars in the F1000 class that has paddle shift. This is your old car, isn't it, Glenn?
Yes, it is. Shane had contacted me a couple of years back and said he was looking for a fully developed package with trailer and everything, and he made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
Sorry, Glenn. We've got Charles Livingston not in the pit lane. He spun. I think that's him spun down at turn number 5. There's a waving yellow, and it appears that his car is stalled. Tim Pierce is the one in the pit lane. That black number 81 is a little far away to identify. So we've got 3 of the F1000s in strife just at the moment. Oh, and a surface flag at turn 5 as well. I hope that means...
Yeah, there's a debris flag coming into 5, Charlotte's Web, and Hamilton's off on the right side of the track offline. But, I mean, it's, he's on track right there. So the guys are all heading down towards him.
That'll be Livingston, I think. I think he's stalled there.
Yeah, unless he can get it refired, they're going to have to get a truck out of there. And then they'll just pull him over to the crossover road right there and get him out of the way. But hopefully he can get the thing lit off.
That is not what Shane Prieto wanted.
Yeah, he had a nice, tidy little lead there when they came by on the first lap. It looked like he had about a 50-foot lead over Mayer, and that's what he needed to get out front early like he did right off the bat. And we kind of had a little conversation there after race 1, and we watched some of his video, and I pointed a few things out, and we talked it out. And I'm glad to see that he took the hard outside line there, going into 1 harder. And, just trusted in the tires, man. We don't have tire warmers in this class, but it's pretty hot out. And if you leave your tires out laying in the pavement, they're going to get some good heat in them, but they're not going to be 200 degrees or 180 degrees. But anyway, used it to good advantage. And so much of this is trust in the tire.
Sure. So these Hoosier tires, 2 sets for a weekend. We've already discussed that. They ran race 1 this morning. And even though it was cooler, it's still not cool. This is still a pretty high-load track, and even with the new service, I'm sure it'll wear a set of tires out if you don't necessarily take care of them. But stickers for race 2.
Yeah, these guys, some of them went to a harder compound because it is so much hotter right now than it was this morning at 8 a.m. for race 1. Trucks now coming down to Hamilton, and they're going to either pull them back and get them pointed the right direction, or hopefully you can get it going again, man. I just hate to see somebody out of a race this early on something. But if on these cars, because they're a motorcycle engine with a drive chain, if you spin the car, you have to push the clutch in. Otherwise, the chain's going the wrong direction, and the starter clutch gets engaged, and it turns the starter brushes and armature into powder at about 14,000 RPM, spinning the starter backwards. And then you don't have a starter. And that typically, if you see a guy spin an F1000 and he doesn't get going again, we have onboard starter, we have a battery.
Yep.
That's why the starter got damaged.
How much margin for error is there if you end up in that situation going backwards? Is it if you don't get it right away, it's gone?
Yeah, you got to get it right away. I've had it happen,
sure.
And I've also cooked a starter or 2 in all my years. And you keep a spare or 2 in the trailer, or you got to bum one from your buddy, with the express understanding that if he needs it, you have to take it off your car and hand it back to him. But they got the toe strap hooked up, and he's probably done for the day. But I have used the toe strap to bump start the car.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if these cars bump started without the starter there.
Yeah, they kind of don't want you to do that because they don't want you to drive into the back of the car. But you just got to be quick on the clutch pedal and get it in once you bump it, and then they act all surprised, like, wow, you got your car started. It's like, yep, can you unhook the toe strap so I can get going?
It seems to me like the easy solution to this problem is just to not spin the car.
Not spin the car for sure. And years ago when this class first got announced in 2007, I recall a company was making a sliding starter mount that pulled the starter back out about maybe 10, 12, 13 millimeters to disengage it from the gear, but I've never seen it after that first year. I thought, wow, that's kind of ingenious. And, that would be ideal to have that on all the cars. You light off the car, and then you pull your little cable, and it pulls the starter out until you need it again, and then you push the cable, and it engages the starter.
Such a good idea. Nobody bought in.
Kind of looks like they got them started? No?
No, I think they're pulling it behind the Jersey barrier there on the short course cut. Point made by Tanner, our producer. We think there was contact with an Atlantic car. that sent the number 33 of Charles Livingston facing backwards at turn 5. Yeah.
You know, for being right in front of us and neither of us seeing it, I'm sorry for the people out in internet live streaming land, but we missed it.
Well, when you have such a view of something like 60% of the track, like we do here at Start Finish at Barber, it's a lot of information to try and take in, and you're watching race cars in the flesh.
That's true, and they're coming by on the front straight and going by on the mid straight and going away from us on the second mid straight and going to the right on the back straight. I was looking at the Buffalo statuary.
For sure. Oh, well.
Yeah. Guilty.
No, you think there's way more than these race cars?
Ooh.
Those Buffalo statues?
Knowing Mr. Barber, they're solid bronze. They look like they're at least 7,000 pounds each. There's 4 of them. Probably way more than the whole field of Atlantics and F1000 combined.
I bet you. 800 pounds, right?
Yeah, roughly, for the car itself. Car and driver's got to weigh 1,000 coming across the scales. If you weigh 999.9, you're disqualified. Got to make that minimum.
So it's 1,000 pounds, 1,000 cc's.
Exactly. When people are like, what's 1,000 mean? It means weight and or displacement.
So
it's easy to remember.
We're going to come back and get a green flag here in a couple of moments' time. But since we're talking about the spec of car, the classic car, engine of choice, is there a preference?
Right now, it seems that I think roughly half the field is on the latest generation Suzuki GSX-R 1000, which is 2017 and newer.
Okay.
And a couple of guys are still using the venerable 2007, 2008 GSX-R, which those things are like hen's teeth now. I have one in my car. Trying to find one is you're not going to find one anymore. So the 17 and newer seems to be the ticket. And here we go.
We're going back to green, and this is throwing the race into chaos. Mayer's got a jump on Prieto down the front straightaway with all this traffic. They bunched up right behind the Formula Atlantic cars, 6 or 7 of them into turn number 1. Mayer was able to box the 43 of Prieto in as they went back to green. And as they come up out of our view at turn number 3 or 4, this will be back on board with Prieto. That's the 77 of Mayer already out in front of him as they come up the hill there. Prieto will catch it on the onboard here in a second, but he gets past the Atlantic that was sitting in front of him. So the two are now nose to tail again behind the number 17 Atlantic of Bob Corliss. They get a jump on him, or at least Mayer gets a jump on him. Prieto's going to have to sit and fall back into traffic here in a couple of moments' time. We'll switch back over to that Prieto onboard on the screen. I know we're challenged with our cell reception here at the cameras, but the onboard seems to be holding up fairly well. Wait for these guys to come through turn 7 here. Not a passing move or a passing zone, really, for that 43 of Prieto. And it's not really even a passing zone for Mayer, who's going to get bulked up behind that 17 Atlantic again. So now they're going to have to follow up through the S's at turns 9 and 10. Mayer kind of gets the nose not taken off, but he has to balk behind that Atlantic car. This gives Prieto a run down the straightaway into turn 11. Just not a good place to pass there unless you're already up alongside somebody. And Prieto just wasn't close enough to make that move happen. Up over the rise at turn number 12. The car steps out on Shane just a little bit there. Then this long right-hander into the penultimate corner. By far my least favorite on the track, just because it seems to never end and then tightens out of nowhere. But that slingshots you onto the front straightaway where Prieto sits about, let's call it half a second, 0.6 of a second behind the 77 JDR of Alex Mayer.
Watch Mayer breaking down into 5. Charlotte's Web over here. Nobody in this field, probably in the whole weekend, is breaking later than Prieto coming down into 5. It was stunning. He made up so much room on Mayer. I actually thought he was going to get Mayer going into it after passing an Atlantic that was further behind Mayer.
I don't know if you were here on Saturday for our qualifying session. Shane got something like 6 or 7 laps. He only had half a session while they replaced the fuel pump in that car first thing that morning. He was charging the heck out of the braking zone for turn 5. Car sideways as he turned it in, kind of a Scandinavian flick around the corner.
Yeah.
Right back on the power. And just tracks it right out to the curb. It was so ragged, but you could tell he was really hustling the car. And for him, I guess, that was the quick way around. It just fell short of pole.
He's a motorcycle road racer guy, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Say no more.
Back it in.
Do what needs to be done. Let the thing move around, because as I was told years ago, hey, man, it ain't a Cadillac. It's going to be moving around.
And I'll tell you what,
let it dance.
Barber is a fantastic motorcycle racing track. It's sort of designed with the bikes in mind, and it really generates good racing for the guys that are are talented and willing to be committed. Shane is clearly one of those guys. Alex is one of those guys, and we've got him nose to tail, first and second, with 7 laps complete in race 2 of the North American Formula 1000 Championship from Barber. A little further back in the field, Nathan Bird drags behind Shane Prieto by about 5 seconds. That's the red number 39 we see on the way into turn number 5. He's carrying one of our DriversEye Live onboards as well.
I'm super impressed with Bird. I met him this weekend. I've been following him this year in the series. He's new to cars. He's from karting, where he's run a 260 and a Rotax tag kart for a couple of years. The karters are just amazing when they get into a car, any car, but especially an open wheel car. It really is quite stunning to see somebody he's darn near on the pace with really not that many car races under his belt.
So let's talk about that. Karts, no downforce, kind of a car you've really got to hustle, keep the revs up, at least, outside of the shifter karts. Sort of a momentum car. You're jumping into a Formula 1000 chassis, slicks, wings, downforce, and a bunch of power behind you, doing lap times that are, in line with the IndyCar racing ladder. Huge transition, or something that's, a talented guy can figure out in a couple laps?
I wish I could comment on karting, but I never karted other than doing the one-off deal in a methanol Briggs powered kart at a little track in Barnesville, Georgia. And I drove my friend's 80cc shifter kart one time in a parking lot of a building that became an Andretti go-kart track in Roswell, Georgia. Yeah. So I don't have that karting background. I came straight from motorcycle road racing.
There you go.
Yeah.
So let's jump back to the lead battle here.
Yeah.
Mayer is tucked up behind the number 17 of Corliss again. This looks like a repeat of Mid-Ohio and a little bit of race 1 this morning, actually. So Mayer gets stuck right up behind the diffuser of the Atlantic, produces all this wake and wash off the wing in the diffuser, which totally destroys the front downforce being generated by the front wing of Alex's car. Now, it's great down the straightaways because you've got a huge slipstream down the length of the straights, and it increases your VMAX by probably a couple of miles an hour. But that means when you get to the corner, A, you've got to brake earlier, and B, you've got to change your turn-in point because that front grip isn't there. The nose isn't pinned to the ground. And that allows Shane Prieto behind Alex to be able to close that margin up and sort of wait for the right opportunity to try and make a move where Alex is compromised by the wake off the Atlantic.
Yep, great, excellent description. It's a free ride down the straight, and then you'll notice the guys will either kind of move off to the side a little bit, even just to get like half the wing back in the airflow. But when you're in that, I don't want to call it a vacuum, but it's a lot of negative pressure zone. You do not have front downforce. And to look at the wing angles these cars are running here this weekend, this is like Laguna level max downforce. You're going to try to take some wing out of it to go faster, but it's not going to go faster because you're not going to be able to go as fast in the corner. The car is just not going to feel as planted.
Sure.
And you're going to go right back to your max downforce settings. This is almost like a wet wing setup where you don't care about top speed. It's all about pushing the car down and squeezing the water out into the sipes of the rain tire.
Can you, as a driver, feel the little tiny incremental adjustments you make to try and fine-tune the setup? Let's say an eighth of a turn of front wing, or... You
know what? There's 2 types of drivers, and I am the type of driver that cannot tell that.
Interesting.
Yeah. I have been in cars that were broken and won. And we didn't know it was broken until I came in. The guy's like, oh, yeah, this control arm's completely cracked in half. That's why it was all over the place.
Yeah, right.
And then there's guys who come in during qualifying, and they want a millimeter of ride height in the rear. I've never been that guy, and it probably comes from my background of motorcycles.
Sure.
Where back in the golden era when I was doing that, we didn't have a whole range of adjustments. We didn't have a crew. And it was just like I was always told by one of our sage elders, just go out there and ride the bike. And now it's just go out there and drive the car. Until I can get to a point where I'm not improving on lap time,
sure.
I'm not really going to change anything because I believe there's a really good base setup.
Okay.
And then you've got wing angle. And this track, max wing angle. Road America, you're driving a car with very little wing angle
sure.
in it, and it's a whole nother animal.
And you can feel that.
I can feel that. But yeah, I'm not a surgically driven kind of driver.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So Alex Mayer was one of those guys sort of talking with his engineer the other day. They were having a conversation about an eighth of a turn of front wing.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable to me that was the amount of fine-tuning they're doing on board that 77 JDR chassis. Your old car, the Furman chassis that sits behind him there with the hands of Shane Prieto, are you aware of any of the differences between the JDR and the Furman? Cosmetics, notwithstanding. Is there anything really appreciable there?
The JDR, at least, Alex, like the star driver of JDR, well, pretty much of the class too, for that matter, these last few years, but it seems to be kind of tail happy, and maybe that's just because that's the way he likes a car, and that's the way they set it up. I'm not quite sure.
Sorry, we've got a fire on track at turn 12.
Whoa.
That's one of the JDR cars. I'm not sure who that is. That's Mayer. That's Alex Mayer. Number 77 is the lead car has caught fire at turn number 12. Thank you for pointing that out, Tanner. I'm sorry we missed it. We're talking about the difference between the cars, and sure enough, one of them has combusted itself down there at turn number 13.
I'm not sure that's Mayer. I thought I just saw him come by.
He's dropped off timing. He's already back to third and just tumbling down the order.
Okay, then that would mean it's him. Yes.
Yep, I did see a white fire suit jump out of the car and up onto the tire wall there. So I believe Alex is out of the car, and I'm going to presume that means he's okay there. The fire is out for what that's worth. And I'm hopeful and, I'm confident that Alex is okay. We're going to get that was the amount of fine-tuning they're doing on board that 77 JDR chassis. We play here. Your old car, the Furman chassis. There we go. So we get things sorted out there. Comes down there it is.
Wow, that's a lot of flame.
So let's not speculate, but
he's out of the car in like a second. Yeah. And he's over the wall, and he's probably trying to grab a fire extinguisher.
I'm sure.
And he is. And now he's running back to the car with the extinguisher. This is what, I kind of like to see this, because the safety workers, God bless them, man, they're in a cotton suit overall. They're not in a 5-layer Nomex suit with gloves and a helmet and booties. So if I can grab a fire extinguisher, I'm doing it.
For sure.
Because the one on the car is basically to buy you enough time to bail out of the car. It's not, if it puts fire out, great, but chances are it's not going to put the fire out.
For sure.
But yeah, oh man, horrible.
And you know what? Credit to Alex Mayer. They're really heads-up driving. He came up over the crest at turn 12. He knew something was wrong. The car was already pulled well off to driver's right. And as he pulled up to he found the station.
You have to drive to the station. If the car is on fire, you don't stop until you get to the closest station ahead of you. That's a rule, man. I mean, I have seen cars go toasty toast because they pulled over between stations. And yeah, I get it, man. If you're getting burned, you got to.
Sure.
But chances are you're not gonna, and it takes a little bit of intestinal fortitude there to keep driving a car that has flames shooting out from the engine
maybe the
compartment.
wind will put it out, That's not
drivers were very concerned about drivers and riders with a motorcycle car, whatever. You're very concerned about the equipment.
Sure.
And it's like, man, if I get burned a little, that's fine as long as we get the fire out.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, obviously we hate to see this, man.
Yeah, it's tough.
I know Prieto came by and he was like very much slower coming by on the front straightaway. And again, people at home, I apologize for missing this thing happening here, but driver is safe and we're under full course yellow.
Yeah, this is, I got to be honest, not at all how I expected this race to pan out.
Nope.
We were really enthralled in that battle between Prieto and Mayer, especially early on. We got a reset with our first full course caution in the first few laps there with Charles Livingston spun down at turn 5. And then as we got things back underway, Mayer was able to get the jump on Prieto and started to run away a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 seconds out ahead of that number 43. And next thing we know, Tanner's yelling at me from production because I'm not looking at the screen when we have a burning JDR chassis.
Yeah. Boy.
So, and you know what? This is, thank goodness we can drop results and things like that in the F1000 championship. 4 races can be dropped out of your points tally, so you can sort of stay in the hunt even when things happen. But this is an opportunity for Shane to pick up a couple of points as far as the championship is concerned here. It's a smallish field, so it minimizes Mayer's damage. But when you have the opportunity to kind of grab onto a win and the points that come with it, you're certainly going to take advantage of that. And there is Shane, which is coming across start finish. And Nathan Bird as well. First time in an F1000 car, he's on board that Arrive Drive Motorsports JDR chassis. And with 5 laps remaining, as I look up at the timing tower across the way from us here, P2 is not a bad way to start your experience in the North American Formula 1000 Championship.
Yeah, not at all. How many laps we got left here?
Well,
We might time out, actually, because this is pretty extended yellow.
Are we doing a wave by?
Yeah, they're waving the Atlantics by. Now they're waving everybody by.
This 74 here.
This is the real leader.
Yes, so they had to wave about 3 Atlantics and an F1000.
Yeah, that's very good that the pace car and the crew are cognizant of that. I have been caught out by the pace car picking up somebody who they thought was the leader, and it's not, and it's like 10 guys ahead of you, and you're like, I'm the leader here, but you can't pass under full course yellow. It's not like you can drive up to the pace car and pop your visor and go, yo, dude, I'm leading this thing. You just got to take what they give you.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, time to put the head down again and get after it.
I'm hopeful your point about the race timing out is incorrect, but I fear that won't be the case. We're dispatching a flatbed to go pick up that number 33 that was stalled at turn 5 earlier because of our first full course yellow. And at the same time, they're sending a wrecker out to go recover Alex Mayer's number 77. Well, maybe the other way around here. Or maybe they're just sending both to Alex. So the emergency vehicles are going to take the cut at turn 6 here, waiting for the field to go by. We'll see how this pans out, but in any case, the point is they don't have the vehicles at Alex's car yet to go and recover it. So with 5 laps left on the countdown, just across from us on the scoring tower, and 24 minutes almost elapsed on timing over on Race Monitor. This is going to be close.
Yeah, they're sending the tilt bed for Alex because the chances are that engine's got a hole in it and it's got oil all over the place. And if you were to pick it up off by the hook and hook the car to the roll hoop and lift it, now it's going to be dangling in the rear and it's going to be dumping oil all over the place. So that's never a good thing.
So let's talk about the packaging of these cars. And I think we're going to get a checkered flag here, actually. They're just going to call this, not this lap. So the starter has a checkered flag in hand, but the double yellow is still being displayed at start-finish. So
we're 24 minutes in.
Yeah. These races are timed to 30?
I think. I'm not positive.
Okay,
I'm looking right now.
I believe it's timed to 30. I don't think it's actually come into play yet. So no checkered flag as yet, although the starter is ready for it.
Yeah, I see she's reaching for
so
maybe it's
all board for a black flag all, but I don't think that's where we're headed here. Yeah, checkered flag in the right hand still.
This was not an uncommon sight in the early days of F1000 as we were trying to get these oil systems figured out. And the stock motorcycle engine has a rear pickup for the oil. So when you're on the gas, which bikes do great, all the oil is centrifugal force throwing it to the back. And if you're doing a wheelie, now all the oil is way in the back of the oil pan.
Sure.
And it's the whole idea is to keep the oil pickup screen submerged. Well, we brake so heavily with a motorcycle engine, all the oil sloshes towards the front of the engine, and now the oil pickup is not submerged, and it's sucking air, and you'll toast the main bearings of the crankshaft in about 3 microseconds.
Holy cow.
So in the interim, dry sump systems were developed, wet sump oil pans that had special trap doors in them to keep the oil. And also, this is so rare to see an engine let go now that it's shocking to me because I don't know the last time I saw one.
So it's, again, I'm new to the Formula 1000 Championship. This is my second weekend working with the F1000 series. It's been a thrill so far, but it's not just plug and play. Take a motorcycle engine, throw it in the back of a Formula car, and let it rip. There's some real thought and engineering that's gone on here to design the chassis and all the systems around making a motorcycle engine work in the back of a Formula chassis.
Yeah, there definitely is, and it mostly is in relation to the oil system and maintaining oil pressure.
Sure.
Temperatures too. A lot of these engines are relying a lot on oil cooling, not just liquid cooling. So if you've got that nailed down, or if you don't have that nailed down and your radiator, your oil cooler radiator is just not as efficient as it can be, you're right. They called it.
Yeah.
Here's a checker.
Checkered flag. So in
full
maybe
course yellow checker,
the most unlikely circumstances, the number 43 of Shane Prieto is going to win round 6.
Look at that.
Of the 2021 North American Formula 1000 Championship presented by EPCUSA.com. Nathan Bird brings the number 39 Arrive Drive car home in P2. Tim Pierce is going to bring home the 81 in third. Alex Mayer, as things stand, I think is going to finish fourth as a result of having completed 10 laps to Steve Hamilton's 9, with that 93 having spent some time in the pit lane right after the green flag this afternoon, and then Charles Livingston being sort of unceremoniously punted out of the way at turn number 5, brings up the rear of the field in the F1000s. So after what was a fairly clean race first thing this morning, Glenn, has turned into a little bit of unfortunate carnage here for the F1000s in race 2.
Yeah, nobody likes to see, first off, a guy blow a motor, but then to have your race cut short and then you're following the pace car and you're basically tooling around in second gear. It's, you don't get any kind of refund on your entry fee, man. This is part of the game, and thankfully these don't happen too often, but when they do, it's a bit of a bummer.
It is. And, we've already discussed some of the championship ramifications. This will play out later in the season, of course, but you take the points where you can get them. Nobody wants to see somebody have to, let's see what the damage is to Alex's car. A fire is never a good thing, and who knows what it disrupts along the way. It may not just be the engine. We hope that that's the case, and it's a simple engine out, new engine in. We'll wait to see, but I'm sure Alex will be back in the F1000 championship with a new engine, probably faster than the one he had in the back of the car to start the season anyway.
Yeah, they're still developing that latest generation Suzuki. I talked with his dad, Nick, and I've been kind of working my way around the paddock today.
Sure.
Waiting for my finger and my wrist to get healed up from 2 separate incidences of being a spaz, basically. And they told me they're really still developing it, and that it's a little bit quicker than those 708 they'd been using this whole time. But there's more in it, so I bet you're right. They'll be back with even a better package for sure.
Well, as we bring the cars into the pit lane to conclude race 2 for the weekend for both the Atlantics and the F1000 cars, it'll be a quick turnaround, hopefully, to get Alex's car back into the paddock and let the team assess what the situation is. The good news is there's no more sessions for the F1000s this weekend. That'll be their weekend completed here at Barber. They'll get that car back to the shop up in Harleysville, Pennsylvania, and try and assess what the situation is before we get back to racing in Pittsburgh in about 3 weeks' time. A reminder that the podium ceremonies will be live on DriversEye, and normally we would sit here and talk about it, about the race, until we got back to the podium ceremonies, but I've got to go manage the camera situation up there and the volume situation. So as things dwindle down here and as we wait to get the 33 and the 77 back to the paddock, I think this is a good place to put a period on our weekend from Barber Motorsports Park and sort of wrap things up. So with that being said, Glenn, I want to thank you immensely for joining us this afternoon from Barber. It would have been great to have you for race 1 as well, but happy you came up and gave us a little perspective from behind the wheel and inside the paddock of the North American Formula 1000 Championship. I learned a heck of a lot, and it was great calling a race with you. Really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely my pleasure, and if I ever can make myself available, I'm doing it.
Yeah, you're welcome in the DriversEye Live booth anytime. We really appreciate it. So, the stream won't end. We'll leave it up on a trackside camera here for a couple of moments' time and go manage the paddock camera situation so we can bring the podium ceremonies and go hear from Shane Prieto, Nathan Bird, and, of course, Tim Pierce rounding out the podium there in P3. And congratulations to Tim on a podium there as well. In interesting circumstances, but a podium's a podium and points are points, so you'll take it for sure. My thanks to JT Tammy, who joined us today as well, especially this morning, did a rock-solid job. Tanner up in production, and for myself, Brendan Kazmarek. We'll leave the commentary to one side. The stream will stay up. We'll mute ourselves for a little bit, and as soon as they're ready to award the Kavana Cup trophies up in the podium, we will send it over to Dustin Hodges of Right Turn Racing TV and, get the podium ceremonies and the celebration from Barber underway. So, Pittsburgh, June 18th to the 20th, Formula 1000s on DriversEye Live. We'll have schedules posted. The next time we'll be live is from Daytona for the World Racing League, June 5th through the 7th. 5th through 6th, I think, just the Friday and the Saturday. So please join us then here on DriversEye Live. Happy to have everybody's company as always. Congratulations to Alex Mayer and Shane Prieto, your winners today. And we'll turn it over to Dustin here in a couple of minutes for the podium for round 6 of the North American Formula 1000 Championship presented by EPCUSA.com with thanks to Kavana Rum and Right Turn Racing TV. For myself, Brendan Kazmarek, Glenn Cooper, JT Tammy, and Tanner Johnson, it's bye for now.
Aloha. guess everybody's debating now.
No, man, I was waiting on you.
All right, guys, welcome to round 6 Podium. Thanks for watching the in-car live stream, and thank you to Kavana Rum, Arrive Drive Motorsports, and Papa John's Pizza for supporting this live stream broadcast this weekend and bringing the greatest sounds in motorsports to all of you folks. Let's kick off this podium. First of all, let's get our third place finisher to take his step up on the podium. It is number 81, Tim Pierce. Well, that was a crazy race.
He was nearly 8/10 of a second back.
It was a crazy race.
So he was a good deal.
I got spun from behind. Next thing I know, I'm just trying to finish half the race.
And conventions in the 76 car.
Salvage whatever's left. I wasn't going fast. I wasn't sure if I had cut tires. I wasn't sure if
next
the
time
diesel was
across the
busted.
track,
I
Nicholas
was just trying to get out there and get half the race distance and see where I ended up. So that's what we did. Ended up taking the checker. Thank goodness there was a safety car, double yellow for the last several laps, and I was able to complete the race and ended up being third.
Well, you also get that jug of fuel there next to you, man, because you went from 5th to 3rd. So, attrition helps.
I'll take it.
All right, second place, number 39, Nathan Bird. Congrats, man. How was your race?
The Formula Race Promotions F1600 Championship. The exit number 6. It's still Brienza,
The race,
the blue car, then the 80 car of
It's working.
the race is pretty good, and I didn't have the best starts.
the white and orange car, 76 starting in 5th. So the gap, when they crossed the track that time, Brienza had the second position. He was 3 seconds behind the leader of Daryl Rendon, who turns into the fastest lap time so far, with a 1:21.571. Behind Brienza might have a second. It was Jonathan Lee. He had a spin over there in the turn 8 area, car looping it around and quickly back underway. After one of the back runners there, we'll see who that was in just a second. They're looping it around there in the roller coaster turn at 8 and 9 area.
Congratulations.
Again, quickly back underway.
And your race winner, it is number 43, Shane Prieto. Shane, tell us how exciting it was to see a fireball in front of you.
Oh, that was crazy. I saw it happening. It started smoking down the back straightaway, and then right when it was going into
number 85 car that
it
spun
just
over there.
exploded. And so I backed way off.
Get that off second going into the turn 6. Very tough to get a third blanket over him as they work their way around the tight.
Glad he was able to
6, they
pull off.
climb the hill. Jonathan Lee with a good run is going to try to make it passes on Brienne, pulls up alongside on the left side. Now they're
What a fun race, man. That
who's
start,
going to have the advantage and when they get to the breakage. It
him
looks
and I
like it's
next to
going to
each
be
other and one.
Lee with the advantage as they come through the
I think he
turn.
was there on the outside
Eight
of
area.
5, and they tried to get me going
Nope,
to
I think
6,
Graham's
7.
held him off.
It was crazy.
Actually,
it was
Lee, it looked like he had the wheel up there
fun
in front, but on the outside
run.
line,
I've been gunning to get a
he
first in this
managed to,
series. Unfortunately, it happened, but I'll take it.
in the second position over Lee.
Well, congratulations. You are now an F1000 race winner, sir.
Yeah, again, shout out to my brother
Second call
Sean.
for Group
Thank
5
you so
cars. Second
much
call
for
Group 5.
all
Please
his
report to
work.
grid now. Second call for Group
Doing
5
this for
cars.
years together. My girlfriend Michelle,
HSR
Finley,
Spencer is Group 5 cars.
and all the sponsors.
We need you
You know,
in the grid area now,
EPT,
please.
Lose Your
Group 5.
Tires,
We need you in the grid area now. Please. Group 5.
EPC,
Please report to grid. Second call.
and Jerry, Justin for putting this together. Sudoku,
Cars off
thank
the
you all.
board. 17 on the front straight. They were
Congratulations.
7-6.
Well, sir, I would like to present you with your money leader check here for the weekend. $1,000 from Mr. Shane Prieto.
Barber Motorsports Park does a nice job of saving it and getting back
Mr.
on
Tim
the-
Pierce, $600 for
Two
you.
wheels off with his left side wheels.
And $550 for the Birdman. Now, we've got one more thing here we got to give away. The MIR Move of the Weekend. And I've talked to a few of the drivers. We've decided, few people, that this move goes to Alex Mayer for his positioning well during qualifying to keep him on pole.
From Jonathan Lee in the blue car. Green Alex to the inside trying to make the pass. And it looks like he
I
got
thought
it.
you'd appreciate that one,
Here,
Jake.
so Lee with a nice nibble on the inside. Didn't work on the outside last time, but this time he had the inside line and makes a pass on Brienza. So he's going to be in the second position now. Jonathan Lee, then Joey Brienza, Hugh Hutchison with a great team watching that battle between those two.
So, yeah, Alex,
And then
that was,
turn 12 station.
You got to do what you got to do sometimes, you know. So, good job, buddy. Guys, there's some champagne below you. Let's have some fun, celebrate. I got 20% off certificates from Race Suit Ballet, so you guys can get those suits nice and clean after they get all sticky here.
Burton Cowell August in number 13. And TJ Zimmerman in number 51 is ninth. All by Danny Fernandez. So 7 laps to go now as your leader crosses the track. Nicholas Orlando, 11 laps in. Here comes the battle for second. It's Jonathan Lee, Joey Brienza, and Hugh Hutchison, Will Holtz, and Pat Schmetchen still.
Well, great job, guys. Congratulations, and great weekend. And once again, everybody, thanks for watching, thanks for viewing, thanks for sharing, liking, commenting. Let's keep this thing rolling, and let's keep moving forward. We're going to be at Pittsburgh in just a few weeks, so make sure you guys stay tuned and check out the live stream. Go back and watch all the races, check it all out. And once again, thank you, Kavana Rum, Papa John's Pizza, and Arrive Drive Motorsports for your support for this live broadcast. I'm Dustin Hodges for the greatest sounds in motorsports. We'll see you later from Pittsburgh in about a month.